Welcome to Module 3A, Income. By the end of this module, you will understand income as it pertains to the tax return, understand the use of each form in the Form 1040, learn the corresponding forms to each line, and be able to calculate total gross income. So, in this module, we'll cover a variety of topics. What is income? Wages, salaries, tips, taxable interest versus tax-exempt interest, ordinary and qualified dividends, IRAs, pensions, and annuities, Social Security benefits. We'll recap and then we'll end with a knowledge check. This module covers income reported on lines 1 through 6 on the Form 1040. So, what is income? Earned income is any income received for work, such as wages or business/self-employment income. Unearned income is any income produced by investments, such as interest on savings, dividends on stocks, or rental income. Unless there is an exception in the tax law, all income is taxable. Below is a chart from IRS publication 4012, and these are all of the examples of taxable income. As you can see, the chart is quite large, so many forms of income are taxable. Now let's talk about wages, salaries, and tips. This is line 1 on the Form 1040. Wages, salaries, and tips are reported to the taxpayer on the Form W-2, as you can see below. Here are some examples. Employee compensation, which is box 1 in the Form W-2. Tips for waiters, waitresses, bellhops, or housekeepers, etc. This requires the VITA Advanced certification. Allocated tips, however, are the amounts your employer assigns to employees in addition to the tips reported. This is on Form W-2, Box 8, and this is just a basic certification. Taxable scholarship income, and you'll be able to see a little bit more about this in Module 8, Tax Benefits for Education, and that'll provide you more info on that. Here's what you do. You enter the total of wages, salaries, tips, etc. If a joint return, you should include the spouse's income as well. The amount on Form 1040 line 1 should be the total of box 1 on all W-2 forms. Always enter all income on the W-2, including federal and state withholding, and any entries in box 12. So you can see where to find the wages, salaries, tips, etc. on the IRS VITA intake sheet, Form 13614-C. It's page 2, questions 1 through 3. Next, we'll cover taxable and tax-exempt interest. These are lines 2A and 2B on the Form 1040. Interest income is reported to the taxpayer on Form 1099-INT. Taxable interest is reported to the taxpayer on Form 1099-INT, Box 1. Total taxable interest income is reported on Form 1040, line 2B. If total taxable interest is over $1,500, the tax software will add a Schedule B to the taxpayer's tax return. Examples of tax-exempt interest income include bonds that are exempt. So these are state political subdivisions, District of Columbia bonds, and Port Authority bonds. Total tax-exempt interest is reported on Form 1040, line 2A. Note, boxes 10 through 13 on the Form 1099 INT are also now in scope for the program. Here is where you can find the IRS VITA intake sheet, and this is where you'll be able to find the taxable interest and tax-exempt interest. Now let's talk about ordinary versus qualified dividends. This is line 3A through 3B on the Form 1040. Dividend income is reported to the taxpayer on Form 1099-DIV, and you'll see a copy of it below. Ordinary dividends are reported to the taxpayer on that Form 1099-DIV Box 1A. And ordinary dividends are corporate distributions paid out of the earnings and profits of that corporation. So total ordinary dividends are reported quite simply on line 3B of the Form 1040. Qualified dividends, on the other hand, are in box 1B of the Form 1099 DIV. Dividends are eligible for a lower tax rate than ordinary income. Qualified dividends are reported on Form 1040, line 3A. Here, you can see where to find it on the IRS VITA intake sheet. Next, we'll talk about IRAs, pensions, and annuities. IRAs, annuities, and pensions are reported to the taxpayer on the Form 1099-R. Distributions from an individual retirement account, or an IRA, annuity, or pension might be fully or partially taxable. What you should do is calculate the gross distributions. Gross distributions are the total amount the taxpayer received in the tax year. This is reported to the taxpayer on Form 1099-R, Box 1. Total gross distributions are reported on the Form 1040, line 4A. Next, you want to take the part of the amount that is taxable. This is the taxable amount. In order to do that, that is reported to the taxpayer on Form 1099-R, Box 2A. This in turn is also reported on the Form 1040, line 4B. Note, if there is no entry in this Box 2A, the taxpayer may not have all the facts needed to figure out the taxable amount. In that case, the first box in Box 2B, taxable amount not determined, should be checked. So here's where to look on the intake sheet. That's page 2, question 11. Next, we'll talk about Social Security benefits, which is lines 5A and 5B on the Form 1040. Here, you'll see that the Form SSA-1099 reports all of the Social Security benefits. Social Security benefits are reported to the taxpayer on the Form SSA-1099, Box 5. You'll be able to tell that it's Box 5 because it will be pink. Social Security benefits are then reported on the Form 1040, line 5A. Be sure to also enter any income tax withheld from Form SSA-1099, Box 6. Up to 85% of the benefits may be taxable, depending on filing status, amount of Social Security benefits, and amount of total income. So, what's taxable? Based on the modified AGI, which is the sum of the regular AGI, excluding Social Security benefits, plus tax-exempt income, excluded foreign income, and certain other deductions for AGI. The calculation can be rather complex and is different depending on filing statuses. To see how it works, go to the worksheet on page 33 of the Form 1040 instructions. Fortunately, the tax software will calculate these taxable amounts for you, and you'll be able to see that taxable Social Security benefits will appear on the Form 1040, line 5B. And here's where to look on that IRS VITA intake sheet, page 2, question 11. Next, we'll talk about capital gain or capital loss. And this is line 6 on the Form 1040. Note, preparing a return with capital gains or capital loss requires an advanced level certification. Forms of capital assets might include sale of home, mutual funds, stocks, and bonds. If the taxpayer sold a capital asset, Form 8949 in Schedule D must be completed and attached. Form 8949 contains capital gain and loss transactions. The subtotal from Form 8949 are then carried over to Schedule D, which they are then calculated as total gains or loss. The total gain or loss from Schedule D is reported on Schedule 1, line 13. So let's recap. Form 1040 income, it's broken down into 2 levels, which is basic level and advanced level certification. This training will cover mostly basic level certifications, but for those seeking to gain the advanced level certification, we've included the slides in here for you. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to rewind this recording and find out what you may have missed. Thank you for listening to this module, and up next is Module 3B, Additional Income.